The place that we're fishing today is this really big irrigation pond, and it's loaded with fish. It's got, like, I would say too many largemouth, just like that we're on. It's just got too many fish. There's so many, and a lot of them are dinkers like this guy. We're going to talk about today why I actually like to bring home some of these fish to eat. I know it's kind of a controversial topic in the bass fishing world. It's kind of taboo to bring home bass to eat, but I'm going to give you guys my opinion today on why I do that. This is a topic that's been talked about a lot lately by a lot of larger fishing influencers, as well as like Fish and Wildlife, you know, for different states. So I thought I would chime in and give my opinion on it. I'm not asking for you guys to completely agree with me by the end of this video, but at least for some of you that are totally against keeping bass, at least, you know, just listening to what I have to say and, you know, seeing if you can understand my point of view on this. Now, many of us have probably fished a lake like I'm fishing today, where you can just do nothing but catch fish after fish after fish. However, there's just not the size that you want. And this is what we call a stunted population of fish. You know, a lot of times stunted fish has to do as well with those fish being unhealthy, meaning there's not enough food for each fish in the lake. But I also refer to stunted fish as just a lake that has way too many fish, even though they may not look extremely unhealthy. You know, like the fish in here for the most part look okay. They just don't grow very big, even though this is a lake that should have large fish based on the lakes that are around it. Now, we see stunted fish populations a lot with bass, but we also see them with walleye. We see them with pike. We also see them like on high alpine lakes. We see it a lot with brook trout. And so I guess the biggest difference between those species and bass is that bass is pretty much the only fish in that group that people don't actually eat, right? And so it's a problem that really never gets solved on a bass fishing lake because fish are never being culled out. The only time a fish is dying in the lake is if it's eaten by another bass, or, you know, it's eaten by something bigger. Maybe there's another predator fish like a muskie or something else in there. Now, also, like most other fish, bass have a negative relationship to population density and size. And what I mean by this, you guys are probably seeing kind of like a chart of what this looks like, is the more fish that are in a lake, right, the less size you're going to see. And it goes the opposite way, right? You have the less fish you have in a lake, the larger on average those fish are. A good way to put this, and at least what I think is a good way to put this, is that say on Lake A, you have 20 bass and you have, I don't know, 20 minnows, okay? That means each bass is eating 1 minnow on average each. Now, say on Lake B, you have 10 bass, but you still have those 20 minnows. That means each bass in that lake is eating on average 2 minnows, which means those bass are probably going to be larger average fish.
It takes 5 pounds per pound of body weight to maintain, plus 10 pounds for every pound you want to gain. So if I have a 3-pounder and I want to make it a 4-pounder, it has to eat 15 pounds, then an additional 10 pounds to become a 4-pounder.
Okay.
Now a 3-pound fish is eating, let's call it 3-inch bluegill.
Yeah.
There's 30 bluegill to the pound. So all I have to do is multiply it out and go, okay, well, I need 450 bluegill.
Okay.
For that one fish to gain 1 pound.
Exactly.
It becomes just a math problem.
Yeah, and then if you have too many fish, you're splitting meals.
Right.
Between way too many of them.
So you can also think about it the other way, is I've got a 1-pound fish. Let's say it's eating 3-inch bluegill just to make it easy. So the 1-pound fish to get to another pound needs 10 pounds of forage. Well, that's still 300 bluegill.
Yeah.
So by pulling a 1-pound fish out, I save 300 bluegill for that 3-pound fish.
Okay.
So that's how we're shifting through harvest. We shift the forage.
Yeah.
Hopefully we grow them a little larger so they go a little further.
Okay.
But we're shifting forage and we're maximizing that carrying capacity.
Exactly. So if you can have a lot of people just consistently keeping some of those fish, you are going to eventually cull some of that population, and you're going to get a smaller group of larger fish, right? And so that's the whole meaning behind this. Is there's obviously plenty of fish in this lake. I mean, I'm probably at like 80 or 90 fish today. Like it's ridiculous. It's every couple casts I'm hooking up with a fish, but they're all small. I can't get anything above 1.5 pounds. So finding those large fish, right? That's very hard on a lake like this, and it could be much easier if you got rid of some of those fish. Seem like some of these fish can't even hold on to it. Now, I'm not saying that you should go out and just keep a bunch of giant bass, right? On a lake like this, I wouldn't keep a fish probably over 1.5 pounds. To me, that is almost getting to like that kind of, not trophy fish for this pond, but a very large fish for this pond. So I want to keep those fish in here because they obviously have good genetics. They've obviously gotten, you know, much bigger than their fellow brothers and sisters, and we want to keep those fish in the future for, you know, for spawning. So I am a huge fan of what they call a slot limit. And a slot limit is basically you can only keep a fish if it's in between 2 parameters. So a great A great example would be like in this pond. As you guys can tell, a lot of these fish are like 3/4 pound. Some of them are even smaller. Some of them are really tiny, but most of the fish in here are like a 3/4 pound to 1 pound. So I think a really good slot limit would be you can keep any fish between 3/4 pound and 1.5 pounds, which means all fish smaller than that and all fish larger than 1.5 pounds have to be released. And that's ensuring that not only you still have some future generations, but it also ensures that your big fish, your fish that have good genetics, are going to spawn in the next season and make more babies.
But let me tell you, the other part of making some really good fishing in our slot lakes is knowing that it's okay to keep some of those undersized, under the slot fish. The key to growing a lot of big fish like this is certainly catch and release, but it's also taking out some of those undersized fish so there's a lot of food to grow more of these. Man, I want to do that again.
If we took fish with better genetics as well as culled some of those fish, you would start getting larger fish. In a lake like the one I'm fishing today, this bass that I just caught, which is a pretty decent fish for this lake, that should be like your slightly below average fish, right? But unfortunately, it's not. This is actually a really nice fish for this lake. So, you know, doing that, right? Keeping some of those fish and getting some of those fish out is going to create a better fishery. And obviously, as you guys know, I do love bass. Do I love trout more? Yes, but I do love bass. And I think bass have a place in my you know, annual trips, right? I do take a couple bass trips a year. I was born and raised in an area that had a lot of bass, and I spent my entire childhood bass fishing. This is not coming from an area of I hate bass. This is coming from I want to pursue bass and I want to catch larger fish. I want to have healthier fisheries. And for that exact reason, this little guy right here is actually going in our cooler for the day. So hopefully you guys learned something on today's episode. I would love for you guys to chime in below. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Maybe I'll pin a couple that I think are really good, you know, really good observations. Yeah, for those reasons, he is going in the cooler. Hope you guys learned something. See you guys next time on Humbug Videos.